I used to wear my parenting style like a badge of honor. Firm, structured, and no nonsense. In my mind, I was doing what any good parent should do, keeping my kids in line, teaching them discipline, and preparing them for the real world. I wasn't trying to win any cool parent award. I was trying to raise responsible human beings. And if that meant a raised voice here and a slammed door there, so be it. But everything changed on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I had just picked up my 8-year-old daughter Amara from school. She slid into the back seat with a quiet hi, her voice barely above a whisper. I immediately noticed the crumpled worksheet in her hand and the red-inked D at the top. My stomach tightened. This was the third low grade in 2 weeks. Without thinking, I launched into one of my usual lectures. Sharpen your focus, quit the daydreaming. You're smarter than this. As I glanced in the rearview mirror mid-sentence, I saw her eyes fill with tears. But it wasn't the tears that froze me. It was the way she flinched ever so slightly when I raised my hand to adjust the mirror. She thought I was going to hit her. That 1 second unraveled everything I thought I was doing right. My voice caught in my throat. I didn't say another word the entire ride home. At that moment, a painful question buried itself in my chest. Had my efforts to raise a disciplined child actually raised a fearful one instead? What followed was a reality check that would shake the core of my parenting and my sense of self. Growing up in a strict Nigerian household, discipline wasn't just expected, it was a lifestyle. My parents didn't believe in soft parenting or negotiating with children. If you messed up, there were consequences. Immediate, clear, sometimes painful, and that, they believed, was love. And so naturally, when I became a parent, I leaned into what I knew. Structure ruled our home. Chores had to be done a certain way. Screens were a privilege, and backtalk wasn't tolerated. I wasn't abusive. At least I didn't think I was. But I was firm, consistent. I believed that consistency meant love, that setting high expectations meant belief in your child, and that leniency was the fast lane to entitlement. My daughter Amara was bright, sensitive, and imaginative. But she was also easily distracted. She'd start a story in the middle of brushing her teeth, or forget to pack her homework folder, even after I reminded her twice. I saw those as signs of laziness or lack of effort, and effort, in my book, was non-negotiated. I often reminded her, between work, bills, and trying to keep everything afloat as a single parent, I didn't always have the energy to explain why things had to be done a certain way. It was easier and faster to snap, to raise my voice, to issue consequences, and move on. I called it discipline. Now, in hindsight, I wonder if it was control. I didn't realize how tightly I was gripping the reins until someone else forced me to see it. The critique came from someone I least expected, Amara's 3rd-grade teacher, Miss Daniels. It happened during a routine parent and teacher conference. I arrived with a notebook in hand, ready to take notes and address whatever issues she had about Amara's slipping grades. I was prepared to defend my daughter's intelligence, to push for more challenging assignments, maybe even ask about tutoring options. What I wasn't prepared for was Miss Daniels looking me squarely in the eye and saying, gently but firmly, I think Amara is scared of making mistakes, not just in class, but especially around you. I blinked. Scared, I repeated, almost laughing. No, she just knows I expect the best from her. Miss Daniels nodded slowly. I understand that. But when I asked her why she didn't speak up during a group project, she said, if I say the wrong thing, my mummy will be mad again. And when she gets an answer wrong in class, she immediately looks around like someone's going to scold her. I felt heat rise to my face, a mixture of embarrassment, defensiveness, and confusion. She's bright, she continued, but she's anxious. She second-guesses herself constantly. I think she might be interpreting correction as disapproval. I don't say this to criticize your parenting. I say it because I care about her. I sat frozen for a moment, staring at the desk between us. Then I mumbled, I'm just trying to teach her responsibility. I want her to be prepared for the real world. No, no. I understand, Ms. Daniel said softly. But fear doesn't always lead to responsibility. Sometimes it leads to silence. I left the meeting feeling like someone had just flipped my world upside down. On the drive home, I kept replaying her words. Fear doesn't lead to responsibility. Sometimes it leads to silence. Was that what I had been doing? Teaching my daughter to be quiet, not strong? That night, I watched Amara as she read quietly at the kitchen table, her face tense with concentration. When I gently pointed out a math mistake, her shoulders tensed, and she immediately started apologizing. It hit me like a punch to the chest. She wasn't learning from me. She was bracing for me. That night, long after Amara had gone to bed, I sat alone at the dining table, with my hands wrapped around a mug of untouched tea. My mind raced in every direction, landing again and again on the look in her eyes when I corrected her. How quickly she apologized, how small she looked when she did. I remembered something that should have broken through sooner. 2 weeks prior, we'd been getting ready for a birthday party. Amara had picked out a dress and twirled around the room. What is? I was rushing, trying to iron my clothes, find my phone, locate a missing gift bag, and she had asked me something silly about glitter or hair clips. I snapped. Amara, for once, can you just think instead of asking 1,000 questions? She went silent immediately. Her smile vanished like a light switch being turned off. At the time, I thought nothing of it. But now, sitting alone with Miss Daniel's words echoing in my head, I realized something awful. I wasn't correcting behavior. I was breaking confidence. I wasn't preparing her for the world. I was becoming the thing she feared in it. Then came the hardest part. Looking in the mirror, not as a parent, but as a daughter. I saw flashes of my own childhood. The times I clenched my fists under the table, while my father's voice thundered through the room. The way I'd memorize every mistake I made, just to avoid repeating it and triggering another lecture. I thought I had escaped that version of parenting. I thought I was better because I didn't spank or insult. But the fear was still there. The silence, the shame. I had unknowingly passed the baton. In that moment, I broke. I sobbed, not just for Amara, but for the little girl I used to be, and for the adult I had become. My fierce grip on control, my obsession with perfection, the sharpness in my tone. It wasn't strength. It was fear masquerading as discipline. That was the night I promised myself I would change. Not overnight, but for good. The morning after my breakdown, I sat on the edge of Amara's bed before waking her up for school. Her curls were splayed across the pillow, her chest rising and falling softly in sleep. For a moment, I just watched her, this little person I was entrusted to love, protect, and shape. And suddenly, all the lectures, the rules, the raised voices felt so small compared to the one thing I had been neglecting: connection. When she finally opened her eyes, I whispered, "Can we talk before we get ready?" She blinked, confused, but nodded. I took a deep breath, heart pounding. "I want to say something important. I think I've been too hard on you lately. I've been more focused on you getting things right than on understanding how you feel. That wasn't fair." She stared at me, unsure. "I'm sorry," I continued, choking a little on the words. "I've been making you feel like mistakes are dangerous. But they're not. I make them too. I'm still learning how to be your mum the right way." For a few seconds, silence hung in the air between us. Then Amara sat up and leaned her small head on my shoulder. "I thought I was always bad," she whispered. That broke me again. But this time, I didn't hide it. I wrapped my arms around her and said, "You are not bad. Not even close. You're brave and kind and funny and smart. And I should have told you that more." That was the first of many hard but healing conversations we've had since. From that day on, I started listening more than lecturing. I read books on parenting styles I used to roll my eyes at. I asked questions instead of jumping to conclusions. When I got frustrated, I paused. Sometimes I still raised my voice, but now I followed it with an apology and an explanation. Slowly, I could see Amara relax in my presence. She started talking more, laughing more, trusting more. The changes weren't just in her, they were in me. Change didn't happen overnight. It never does. There were days I slipped back into old habits, snapping when she dawdled in the morning, sighing too loudly when she spilled juice on her homework, raising my voice when I was really just exhausted. But now, instead of pretending I had the right to act that way, I held myself accountable. There were nights I sat by her bedside and whispered, "I'm sorry I got upset earlier. That wasn't about you." And slowly, Amara started saying things like, "I know, Mummy. I forgive you." That's what struck me the most. How quickly she forgave. How open her heart remained, despite all the walls I'd unknowingly built. Children are resilient, yes, but they're also deeply aware. They feel things adults often overlook. And Amara, in her gentle way, was teaching me how to be better just by being herself. I also began to heal parts of my own story. I had spent so long wearing toughness like armor that I didn't realize how tired I was, how much I craved softness too. I started therapy, not just to become a better parent, but to become a better person. I began unpacking the silent rules I'd inherited. That love equals obedience, that respect means fear, that authority must always speak louder than emotion. They weren't true. Not anymore. Parenting now looks different. We have talk time every Friday, where she gets to ask me anything. No judgment, no interruptions. I let her make small decisions, even when it means letting her fail gently. And I've learned to celebrate effort more than outcome. When she got a B on a math test recently, she ran to me and said, "I tried really hard." And instead of asking, "What happened to the A?" I said, "I'm proud of how hard you worked." She smiled like the sun was inside her. That's the kind of reward I never used to notice. Now, I cherish it. Looking back, I realized that the harshest parenting I gave wasn't rooted in cruelty. It was rooted in fear. Fear of failure. Fear of raising a child unprepared for the world. Fear of repeating mistakes I barely understood. But fear isn't a legacy I want to pass down. The critique I received, uncomfortable, honest, and unexpected, was a gift I didn't know I needed. It forced me to stop hiding behind discipline and start seeking connection. It taught me that real strength as a parent isn't in how loud your voice can be. It's in how open your heart is willing to stay, even when it's uncomfortable. Now, when I think about my job as a mother, I don't just think about raising a well-behaved child. I think about raising a whole child. One who feels seen, heard, and loved, not because she's perfect, but because she's human. I know I'll mess up again. I'm still learning, still healing, still trying. But one thing's for sure, I will never forget the day my daughter flinched, and the reality check that followed. That moment changed me. And I intend to keep changing. For her, and for the mother I'm becoming.